Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. So, OpenAI dropped a new report on how ChatGPT gets used by criminal networks, state actors, and fraudsters. The map is broad: sophisticated surveillance campaigns linked to China, romance scams out of Cambodia, the whole buffet. And then you hit the Russian context. Moscow looked at AI and said, excellent, this will make the propaganda factory run faster. And that's exactly what happened. One of the networks in the report is linked to the pro-Kremlin ecosystem around Rybar, a Telegram powerhouse with over 1 million subscribers. Not just some random troll farm intern, a real influence machine. So, what were they doing? Not just crafting genius narratives, but pumping out content in bulk. According to the report, they used prompts to mass generate posts, batches of them at a time, and investigators later found that these exact posts spam across multiple accounts on various social media. And here's the kicker: they weren't just cranking out posts online, they were trying to push it into traditional media as well. The report describes a fake academic persona, supposed PhD, publishing articles in African news outlets. Pro-Russia, anti-West, written like serious geopolitical analysis. Except the person didn't exist, just an AI-generated expert pushing Kremlin-friendly narratives into real publications. It's laundering propaganda through what looks like respectable journalism. Because once it's in a news site, it's no longer Russian messaging, it's analysis. But the danger doesn't just end there, you see. Pushing propaganda is one thing, but try pushing the big red button on for size. See, a research by King's College London tried to pitch leading models like OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic against each other, playing the role of global nuclear powers. In 21 simulated scenarios across 300 moves, AI eventually chose nuclear escalation in 95% of military simulations. Now, this is all fine and dandy when you're playing Sid Meier's Civilization against AI, but with how much Moscow's been outsourcing their thinking to these models lately, the future does look a bit grim. At the end of the day, technology itself is not ideological. It does not wake up thinking about troll posts on X, influence in Africa, or nuclear brinkmanship. It's the amplifier that scales whatever you feed it. If you feed it propaganda, it multiplies propaganda. If you feed it escalation logic, it escalates. The model does not decide the direction, the operator does. And right now, some of the loudest operators in this space have a long track record of choosing pressure over restraint. So, Russian developers released a new PC game to mark the 4th anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. It's called Hostomel Heroes. And yes, it's dedicated to the attempted capture of Hostomel Airport in 2022, or as the Kremlin would prefer you remember it, a heroic page in Russian history. So let's rewind a little bit. At the very beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Russian leadership clearly believed Kyiv would fall in 3 days, maybe even in hours. The plan? A lightning strike. Airborne troops seized Hostomel Airport, just outside Kyiv, cargo planes land, reinforcements flood in, capital captured, curtain falls, victory parade, cue patriotic music. It was supposed to be Russia's shock and awe, but instead it becomes oops and withdraw. But now, plot twist, this episode has been reborn as a video game. Because if reality does not cooperate, might as well live in the fiction.
Всем привет, с вами Рэдшфор. Остаются считанные дни до выхода долгожданной тактики в реальном времени «Гостомельские богатыри», поэтому я решил подытожить все, что нам известно об игре из скриншотов, видео, постов разработчиков в соцсетях и не только. Итак, поехали! «Гостомельские богатыри» описывают события первых дней СВО, от момента российской воздушно-десантной операции на окраинах Киева до того момента, когда конфликт, казалось, вот-вот закончится в рамках переговоров о возможном урегулировании в Стамбуле в марте 2022 года. Целью разработчика игры, студии «Играющие кошки», является максимально реалистичное, с поправкой на игровые условности, воспроизведение тех событий. Игра делается на личном движке кошек под названием Warfare, как и все их предыдущие игры. Для богатырей движок был сильно модифицирован. Разработчики получали вопросы в духе «Зачем вы делаете игру про эту операцию? Она же неудачная». Кошки считают такое мнение сильным преувеличением, что и хотят показать в игре.
Okay, so I actually tried to find this game on Steam, but apparently Valve has not allowed the game to be distributed there, and I'm not about to download some sketchy Russian platform to give this thing a shot, so I won't be streaming this for you guys. Anyways, the gamification of war is not a new phenomenon, but when it comes to a specific episode of a modern conflict that ended in failure, it looks like an attempt to reformat memory. Creating such a product is not only entertainment, but also a tool for shaping the narrative. The game allows you to present events in a favorable light, without chaos, without losses, without awkward questions. In the digital world, it is easy to remove details that do not fit into the plot. But it cannot change the outcome of a real battle. Not because this game looked like it's running PS2 era graphics, but because in life, unlike in a game, there is no restart button. The hashtag Hollywood against Zelensky suddenly appeared on social media, packaged as a glamorous uprising of actors, demanding that Ukraine accept peace on Russia's terms. The videos featured the names of Nikki Blonsky, John Seda, and Gabriela Pizzello, and in these clips, they allegedly urged viewers to end the war by pressuring Kyiv.
Hi everyone, it's Gabriela Pizzolo. You might know me as Susie on Stranger Things or Angela on Pretty Little Liars Original Sin. In fact, the strangest things happen in reality. In Ukraine, hundreds of thousands of young men are being snatched off the streets and sent to their deaths. And it's all to help Volodymyr Zelensky stay in power, steal money, and keep fighting a war that's already lost. Strange, right? It is also strange that European leaders know about this, but continue to support Zelensky. Why? Because they are directly involved in corruption crimes.
Everyone, Nikki Blonsky here. You may recognize me from the movie Hairspray, or ABC Family's Huge, Ugly Betty, Smash. I haven't been acting in recent years. I decided to devote my life to enlightening people. My goal is to show the world who Volodymyr Zelensky really is. Helping President Zelensky will leave a bloody stain on the history of Europe and the United States.
Now here's the problem. None of these actors said any of it. There are no such videos on their verified pages. The clips were pushed out by anonymous accounts with no followers, no stories, no biographies. Basically digital ghosts. Deepfake detection services confirm the obvious. The videos were generated by artificial intelligence. Researchers say this campaign is part of a broader online influence network linked to Kremlin structures. We've seen how this worked before. It mirrors the so-called Matryoshka bot farm method. A small cluster of anonymous accounts drop the fake, then a bot network amplifies it, and suddenly it looks like mass outrage, a trending wave, a spontaneous movement. In reality, it is a closed loop of automation pretending to be public opinion. Public figures are useful props. A recognizable face lowers defense, viewers hesitate to question what feels familiar, borrow celebrity credibility to push narratives about war fatigue. The timing is not random. The campaign intensified during diplomatic discussions about possible scenarios for ending the war. When international attention rises, so does the disinformation. These information drops tend to surface precisely when negotiations draw focus. The strategic objective is clear. Weaken support for Ukraine, create the impression that the world is tired, suggest that compromise on Moscow's terms is inevitable. But here's the thing, if you have to invent celebrities to prove the world agrees with you, the world probably doesn't. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.